Drop it on them random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about history and nostalgia in hip hop, but more importantly, the preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. With me, as always, the homie Tony, dressed in all the Into the Dome swag. What's good, man?
Everything is good, my brother. Just sipping some ginger and cayenne right now and trying to stay safe, stay healthy, and hope everyone else is doing the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention everything that's going on, you know what I'm saying, at least briefly or acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? First of all, rest in peace to George Floyd and the
Right.
situation that's going on. There's a lot of protests going on.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, people showing their true colors, making statements and
Mm-hmm.
getting wild online. You know what I'm saying? But it's all for the better in the long run. You know what I'm saying? It's a process. So all we can do
Absolutely.
is hope, pray, and hope, just that it won't happen anymore to anyone. You know what I'm saying? But especially African Americans. You know what I'm saying? So rest in peace to George Floyd and others who have lost their lives through senseless violence and racism.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but please know, if you're watching this podcast for the very first time or listening to this podcast for the very first time, it is available everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So if you're on the audio side, you can just go to your favorite podcasting app, type in the words Hip Hop Now Podcast, and on that same feed, you will find every episode of That Time in Hip Hop. Or you can go to YouTube and look for the B Roll Network. That's BROLE Network. And we got like 56 episodes of That Time in Hip Hop, man. We talking about movies, soundtracks from the 90s, moguls in hip hop, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That time in hip hop when KRS-One threw PM Dawn off the stage. You know what I'm saying? Like we really Tim Dog, like who talking about Tim Dog? You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
nobody talking
Like
about Tim Dog.
no, nobody talk about Tim Dog. But the
Yeah.
point of the matter is, we're not just talking about him to be nostalgic or to reminisce on our younger days, but we're definitely giving you content and context for these events, for these artists, for these albums, for these moguls. So whether you're a person who was never up on it, you know what I'm saying, when it was happening, or you're a younger cat and you're interested in going back and seeing, well, why is Illmatic so good? What happened when Nostradamus came out? What happened to the album that was supposed to come out? Different things like that. It's a history lesson in hip hop meant to preserve what we love, the culture. You know what I'm saying? So definitely subscribe. And again, for all of that, go here to find this and go there to find that. Seemed like a bit much. All you got to do is go to intothedome.com, and right there you will find the audio and video stream of this podcast, along with numerous articles written by Tony of intothedome.com. I know you saw the hat and the shirt, so
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason why you should be able to type it in based off of just looking at the
Man,
brother.
baby.
But let's get started, man. We get into a segment we like to do called This Month in Hip Hop. And this month in hip hop, born on June 2nd, 1970, B Real of Cypress Hill was born. Lead rapper in the group Cypress Hill. Tone, probably underrated group now when you look back, because they don't get mentioned enough when people just talk about dope hip hop groups. So Tone, your thoughts on Be Real, around his birthday time, and the group Cypress Hill and their legacy in hip hop.
Dude, well, you know what? First of all, happy birthday to Be Real. And look, Cypress Hill legacy is actually massive.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, in certain walks of hip hop and talks of hip hop, you don't hear the name, you know what I'm saying? But to Latinos who love hip hop, who helped start hip hop with us in South Bronx back in the 70s, they understand the importance of Cypress Hill. And a lot of hip hop heads such as ourselves, we do, but some casual fans and even some fans that love hip hop kind of relax and sleep on Cypress Hill. And
yeah,
and Be Real is probably one of the most unique MCs ever in the culture. You know what I'm saying? Like when they came out, nobody sounded like Cypress Hill. Nobody looked like Cypress Hill. DJ
Nope.
Muggs' production is incredible. Muggs is still one of the top producers probably in the culture. If you guys listening in or watching will just YouTube and Google his discography of production, Muggs is incredible. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of projects outside of Cypress Hill, but again, back to Cypress Hill, they sold over 20 million records. So if you go back and look at some of the biggest groups in hip hop history, how many of them sold more than 20 million records? That list is very, very small. So Cypress Hill is one of the highest selling groups in hip hop history and one of the highest selling acts, period, in hip hop, man. And a lot of people don't actually realize they have several multi-platinum albums. And Be Real is the face of Cypress Hill. He is the MC of Cypress Hill. Sin Dog is not one to do many verses or anything like that, but he is kind of like his assistant, his hype man, his backbone. And again, I saw Cypress Hill live at a Gangstar concert with Public Enemy and a few other groups years ago in the 90s actually, and they had a great show. They're dope live. They have a loud band live, and yeah, man. I mean, it's a massive legacy in hip hop that some people who might not be core fans of Cypress Hill and core fans of Be Real don't understand. You know what I'm saying? The impact. And I remember first time hearing "How Can I Kill a Man," and I was like, yeah, I've never heard nothing like this before. You know what I'm saying? Like I never heard, I saw the video was gangster. Even Q-Tip and Tribe Called Quest was on the video, but I never heard or seen nothing like it, man. And I remember getting the debut album and I was just skimming, back then I had a tape rather, and I was like, wow, like this hard, man. Like when I first heard the first single, How Can I Kill a Man, I was like, I hadn't heard nothing like this before, man. It was a hard beat. You know what I'm saying? Be Real was very unique with the flow, with the voice. Of course, nobody sounds like Be Real. So, again, like I said a few minutes ago, he's probably one of the most unique MCs ever, man. And then I remember hearing the Funky Phil one, Hands on a Pump, Pigs, yeah, that Latin lingo. Yeah, man, that first album, the Cypress Hill debut album, self-titled, it was a monster. You know what I'm saying? And it sold several million, like I said a few minutes ago. It sold 20 million records, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's a legacy that's not to be overlooked or taken lightly. When, I mean, again, you did this back in 91. You know what I'm saying? So, and they never really fell off, man. They had a string of, like I said, multi-platinum albums. And yeah, man, happy birthday to Be Real, man. He's a stand-up guy. Outside of that one conflict they had with Ice Cube, nobody has ever come at Cypress Hill sideways. And Cube really didn't because, again, Cypress Hill is, their whole clique was kind of known on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't really just hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? With Cypress Hill. So, they was heavily respected, not just in the booth, but there was respect on the streets. You know what I'm saying? And all those Latino gangs love Cypress Hill, roll for Cypress Hill, and again, gang culture is not just blood and Crips. You know what I'm saying?
Sure ain't.
So don't get it twisted, man. They was very, very known and supported by they had their own subculture in hip hop. And and Be Real was the face of that. So, but yeah, man, when you think about Be Real, man, as an MC and Cypress as a group, what some of your thoughts come to mind? Do you remember the first time you heard How Can I Kill a Man? And and real quick, I think I heard it. I heard it first on BET, but I also remember hearing it again on some old Funk Flex joint.
Yeah, it was the same thing for me. First time I heard it, I saw the video. You know what I'm saying? And I think what caught my ear at first was the beat, the way it starts. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of eerie. You know what I'm saying? The way it started. and then Be Real comes in and he has his real nasally voice, and um, it just fit the whole vibe. And I was just like, man, what is this? Then I heard Hand on a Pump, and I was like, yo, I think I like these dudes. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I remember buying the album and just being into it. But yeah, the first time I heard Cypress Hill, man, they was just different. They were really unique, and it was of course, because they were Latinos, there was a different flavor to it. But I think for me, that kind of added to the mystique of the group. You know what I'm saying? Because now it wasn't like this is the 15th gangster rapper, black gangster rapper from the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? This is the Latinos, and the lead MC can spit, and he got a real unique voice. And you know what I'm saying? The album is nothing but gutter. You know what I'm saying? What they
yeah,
talking about. But yeah, man, like, and even the follow up albums after that, you know what I'm saying? Like, was it joint Black Sunday
yeah,
and Temple of Doom or Temple of
yeah,
Boom, right?
yeah.
That was it.
Hardcore. It's hard.
Temple of Boom. Yeah, like three straight albums that like was crazy that really don't get mentioned enough. Not only the albums, but Be Real as an MC, DJ Muggs as a producer, the
Yeah,
group as far as consistency and success. You know what I'm saying? Because they wasn't just a hip hop group, also they kind of peaked into that pop side, especially going from Black Sunday on. Um, and some of that came from, they just make some of the best weed records ever, you know.
yeah.
And sometimes that could be universal, man.
That
But yeah, man,
stone is
Be
the way
Real,
of the walk. Something like that.
yeah, Stones is the way
Yeah,
to walk. Just perfect, man. Perfect voice. Just knowing how to deliver those lyrics, man. Be Real is a very underrated MC in the hip hop game, and same thing goes for Cypress Hill as a group. Need to be mentioned a little bit more when talking about some of the best hip hop groups of all time. That is 1,000% sure. You know what I'm saying? So happy birthday to Be Real on his birthday. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna talk about another group that sometimes they don't get mentioned as much as they should when people are talking about greatest groups of all time. Maybe because their catalog isn't as long, but three albums and a couple of mixtapes, there's a lot of heat there. So, Tone, tell the people who we here to talk.
look, man. Growing up down south here in North Carolina, when I think about the mid '90s, and and Virginia, being our sister state, I thought about you know, Timberland, Magoo, and Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, Genuine, Pharrell, of course, the Neptunes, and even before them, Teddy Riley, even though I think Teddy Riley was born in Harlem, he spent some of his heyday of music career in Virginia, you know what I'm saying? So, and then you look at Mad Skills was underground, cat who we rocked with, the Nod Factor, back in like 95, 96, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to tell you, when the Clipse hit the scene, I was just amazed, like, where these dudes come from. Well, even before they dropped, Khalees, who was part of Pharrell and the Neptunes crew at the time, she had her debut album around '99, and it was a song called "Good Stuff" on there. And on "Good Stuff"
Mhm.
was one of her singles. Pusha T kicked a little quick verse. He wasn't called Pusha T at the time. He was called like Terra or something like that. It was like
Yeah.
Terras. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't Pusha T yet. And I'm like, dude had a slick little verse, and Khalees album was one of Neptune's first fully produced albums, man. Dope beats, very futuristic and different. Hadn't heard nothing like it. You know what I'm saying? That's around '99. So then you fast forward to around 2002. I remember my homie hit me
Hmm.
and said, man, you heard that them dudes called the Clipse? I was like, nah, I ain't heard that. I ain't heard them. Yeah, he like, what's this song called Grindin? And I'm telling you, dog, it's about to pop off. I was like, all right, man, well, let me get on the computer and look for it. Computers back then, early 2000s, what I'm saying, wasn't the same it is right now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But I ran across the song, man, and I was like, yo, okay, this hard. And then I remember a few days later, I saw the video on BT. And
Oh
and
wow.
I'm like, okay, that's the Neptune. That's the dude for real. I didn't know that. I forgot they make they beats like this because I know he had worked some with Nori. You know what I'm saying? And a couple of, he had done a couple other joints from other rappers. But I ain't know they had some heat like this. You know what I'm saying? And Grindin was hard. And Grindin was played in people's cars. It was played on the radio. It was played in the club. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't a commercial song. You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
Even the video was hard. You got a lot of cats in the video. It ain't no, I got a lot of girls, women dancing in the video and all. No, it was grimy. It's just like the
Yeah.
song Grinding. You know what I'm saying? I like, okay, these cats, okay, they flowing back and forth, reminding me of, they carrying a tradition that, Run and DMC went back and forth, Tip and Fife,
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. Even with Andre, you know what I'm saying, and Big Boy, they kept that whole back and forth thing going. I'm like, okay, these dudes sound good together. I didn't know those brothers at the time. You know what I'm saying? They just had a dope chemistry, man. And then I heard that when was the last time? And you know what I'm saying? What's the other joint, man? Got damn, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
at each single that was released, I was like, okay, they popping. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't no one trick pony with the grinding. Like, I got Lord Willing, and I was like, oh, okay, so they good. Like, all right, my fault. I was glad to hear that being from North Carolina and Virginia, and they had a song on there called Virginia. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I was like, oh, okay, these dudes are serious. Cause before then, Timberland and Magoo, they rap, but it wasn't really my kind of hip hop, even though I loved
Yeah.
them beats. I thought Missy was dope, but she wasn't just hip hop, she was music. You know what I'm saying? And Mad Skills was dope, but he was underground. I mean, he from the same family of a native tongue type, and he could rap, you know what I'm saying? But the
Yeah.
Clipse, I was like, okay, they gonna be star. They got star power.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so my first impression, man, I was like, oh, okay, we got something here, man. So we're gonna get into a lot of the stuff with them, man. But you been in New York.
Mm-hmm.
How was it when the Clipse dropped for y'all dudes in New York?
Well, I was in Baltimore when the Clipse
Okay.
dropped. Like obviously, I traveled back and forth from time to time to New York, but the Clipse was everywhere. All over Baltimore radio, all over DC radio, all over New York radio. That Grinding record was like ridiculous. And I remember when I heard the song first, and I just remember like everybody was just talking about it. And mostly they was just talking about the beat. And I didn't even know Pharrell did the beat. Like, because I associated Pharrell with a certain type of beat that
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily hardcore hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember, even though he's on the song talking, I just thought it was his group. But man, when I heard that beat and then I heard how they were spitting over it, and it was just like, to hear that in the club too was just, it's crazy the way it was knocked. And I was the opposite. I used to look at them like, yo, these two twins. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought they were twins that looked slightly different. And come to find out they were brothers, but what Malice is older than Pusha T.
Yeah.
But I just remember like hearing those bars, and it's that song got played so much. It was like 100 singles, remixes, I should say. That came out. I think Birdman was on one. Like,
that was
what I'm saying? All kinds of joints. And I remember, like, I was getting to the point, I was getting tired of that song. And I was like, man, where's the album? Because these dudes is nice, but you know how it goes. You hear somebody for the first time, they got a hot single, you want to hear more. And man, when I heard like the album, Lord Willing, the debut album, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't believe that it was that crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like from beginning to end, like even what's the first track on there? The first track on there, Young Boy. I didn't expect it, you know what I'm saying? And especially like you said, coming out of Virginia. And I remember like trying to rack my brain, like, Like, who else came out of Virginia? Like, are they putting Virginia on the map? Obviously, like Tone said, there was Missy and Timberland and Mad Skills and a couple and Pharrell. You know what I'm saying? And a couple others, but at the same time, man, there was nothing coming out of Virginia like like the Clipse. You know what I'm saying? And Allen Iverson, maybe, but
Yeah. Mike
that's
Dick,
just about it, man. So when you heard their first album, their debut, like what was your outlook for them as a group? Did you wonder if they could follow it up, or did you feel like they had staying power basically?
First, let me say this: they started off Lord willing with the intro, then Young Boy, then Virginia, then Grindin, then Hot Damn, then Ma Don't Love Her. I mean, good God, those are the first 5 songs. But so yeah,
Yeah,
man, the album was awesome, and it was a different type of production. I was like, well, you know what? One thing I can say is Clip's debut album didn't sound like no other debut album I ever heard of hip hop.
yeah,
What Pharrell did with that, the way they flow, their
true.
style, they are totally a unique group and unique rhymes, voice, flow, and production. So yeah, after I heard it, we was riding to it down here in North Carolina for a while, and then you do start thinking, of course, anytime you drop a great debut, you always say, okay, how can they follow up? Or can you follow that up? What happens? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, several years later, that was 2002, around 2006, I heard that single from Hell Have No Fury called Mr. Me Too. And it had that hard bass line. And I was like, oh, they back at it again with this crazy single. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And for whatever reason, after the single, I didn't hear the album for a while. So I guess so much hip hop, so much stuff going on maybe with me at the time. Um, but I saw the ratings for it on all of the professional publications, and on All Music, Hell Have No Fury got like a 4.5 out of 5.
yep,
And all of the other major publications was giving it either 5s or 4.8s, and I was like, well, why? You know what I'm saying? I like Mr. Me Too, but why? Once I got the album and listened to it, I remember before listening to it, reading those reviews, what Pharrell and Chad did, the Neptunes did production wise, it was something that, you know, I don't know if I've ever heard an album, it was dark, but the way the beats were, it was so unique. It was like the first time I remember hearing Outkast with Organized Noise. It was like
mm,
the way they did the album, you know what I'm saying? It was loud, it was crispy, the engineering was dope. You know what I'm saying? And when I heard this track on there called Keys Open Doors, I was like, dog, this is one of the best beats I've ever heard.
mm-hmm.
To this day, if you put it in your ride right now, anyone listening, the Clipse Keys Open Doors is a track on Hell Have No Fury. Turn it up in your car. If you got a nice system, I promise you, you haven't heard many that bang like that one.
Yeah, man.
And man, I'm gonna tell you, bang, they came back in what was unique. I said I referenced Organized Noise and Outkast. Another reason why I referenced them is the Clip's second album didn't sound anything like the first album.
Yep, it did not. Yep.
So they went a whole different vibe, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have been a commercial success, but it was critically acclaimed. It was sequenced dope. It was only about 11 or 12 songs on it, so they gave you just enough to want more at some point, because Lord Willing had like 15 songs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, but yeah, man, when I heard it, I was pleased. I was like, obviously they're here to stay. The rhymes were still dope, and I was satisfied, man. Like leading up to their second album, what was your thoughts after the first album had simmered down? You like, you know what, dope debut. What was you and your people thinking at the time?
I think I was wondering. I was like you. I was wondering when it was coming out again because the Lord Willing dropped in 2002. But their follow up, the sophomore album, didn't drop until 2006.
Right.
And that was kind of uncharacteristic at that time. Like maybe early 90s, it was cool to do that, you know what I'm saying? Build some anticipation. But these dudes was hot. They had like a million remixes off of Grindin. Their other songs was even charting on the radio. And when I
Yep.
heard Mr. Me Too, I was just like I felt like it was cool. It wasn't grinding, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't storming out the gate like that. But when I heard Keys Open Doors or Wamp Wamp, I was just
Yep.
like, okay, this album's different. And I think what made it really dope for me was because initially I was kind of like you. I wasn't really on it the minute it got released. I heard the singles and word of mouth kind of got me there. But I kind of felt like, well, damn, yeah, the production is different this time around, but it's kind of better. It's a little bit more closer to a darker tone to kind of match the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the first album sound like Pharrell experimenting, but it worked. You know what I'm saying? And this one sounds like he was trying to, even though he didn't do all the production, but just trying to refine their sound. And Pusha T and Malice were just way better lyrically, like
Yeah.
just out of nowhere. I mean, it's 4 years after, but they just got really good lyrically. You know what I'm saying? They got really better, and they were already dope.
Yeah, they
Um,
was dope already.
and
They was
so
dope already.
I didn't think they could get any better, but it was just like what they were saying, how they were saying it. You know what I'm saying? And just the layered on, double entendres and everything. You know what I'm saying? Within their lyrics, and obviously the content is usually drug talk and all of that, but sometimes it's dope when somebody's really good at taking something you've heard a million times and making it sound fresh and new. And the Clipse were excellent at that.
Oh,
Pusha
absolutely.
T is still good at that. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, man, once that sophomore album came out, man, I was just like two for two. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But you know what though? As we fast forward 3 more years, because you went from 4 years between that first and second album, you had to wait 3 more years till the casket dropped. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And as dope as Hell Have No Fury, I like Till the Casket Drop better than Hell Have No Fury. You know what I'm
word?
saying? I absolutely do. I listened to it today again, just to do the knowledge again. I'm gonna tell you
Mm,
that first track on there called Freedom.
yeah.
Pusha T unleashed one of the best intro verses to an album I've ever heard. Like it set the
Mm,
tone for the album. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was saying on that verse basically, I was sleeping, so now I'm gonna give you a verse to jack off to or something like that or whatever. But it was just it set the tone to till the casket dropped. Like when I first heard Q-Tip on Excursions on the low end theory for Tribe
mm,
Called Quest, I was like,
yeah.
is this the way they started this album off? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is nuts. But of course, I had heard kind of like a big deal, and I'm good already. Before I heard the whole album, those first two singles, and then I think I even heard Popular Demand with Cameron. I think I heard all three of those songs before I heard the album. But when I got the album and heard Freedom, I was like, that's when I said, you know what? I think Pusha T is somewhere else with it. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, Malice is just as dope. But the way Pusha T rhymed until the casket dropped, I kind of felt like he was about to be solo. I kind of felt
Mm,
like he was just showing so much creativity, even with some aggression, and almost like y'all trying to act like this not a game. Like I'm
yeah.
nicer than all these dudes out right now. That's the way Pusha T was rhyming on till the casket drop. And the Malice was still kicking his dope bars, real relaxed flow, confident, just doing what Malice does. But Pusha T for me, not saying he was better, it's just the way he attacked till the casket drop. He was looking at it like, I mean, I'm nicer than y'all. Like straight up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I really think I'm nicer than y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it came off authentic, and I was doing, and as I heard it, I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to see what happens now. It just dropped 3 dope albums, usually group sometime after 3 dope albums and stuff like that. Unless you're a De La Soul type group or the Roots, people take a break and start
Yeah.
doing other stuff. And so I was thinking about what's next. What's your thoughts on that third album, man?
I I felt like I feel like the third album is slept on. I think so many people liked the second album so much um, that they kind of slept on the second album being Hell Hath No Fury, that they kind of slept on till the casting drop. You know what I'm saying? I probably like Hell Hath No Fury more today than I did back then in 2009 when Till the Casket dropped. But I kind of felt like, man, because I think the rumors were out that they were possibly going to split up. Like, while it was like an EPMD situation where EPMD was making videos for their third album and the album was out, but the word was already on the streets that they were breaking up. They were just putting the singles out, which was, crazy when you think about it. But I think the first joint, I didn't even hear the song first. I saw the video for Popular Demand first.
Yeah, okay.
And Malice verse on there, man,
He is
is
sick.
something special. It's something special, you know what I'm saying?
Man.
Cameron did what he did or whatever, but and Pusha T obviously clearly was getting on another level with the bars and the flow. Because I think with Pusha T, that's when you listen to all 3 albums, I think that's what you hear the most. Because Malice was kind of already solid on the first album. Both of them were solid, but Malice sound more in his zone, more in his pocket in all 3 albums. But Pusha T, you saw a progression. You saw
Yeah,
that he could rap. But by that third album, he became the Pusha T that we know today. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It was just confidence in how he enunciates. You know what I'm saying? His words and his lyrics. But man, when I heard the album, man, I was like, this album's dope. But it was so many Clipse fans that I knew that was just kind of like, yeah, it's all right. I don't really like it and all that. And I think it probably was the production because, like you said, the debut album and the sophomore album sound nothing alike. Well, the third album don't even sound like those albums, production
it
wise.
doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what I like about it, but that's probably what made some fans fall back because there wasn't a consistency in a signature sound for the Clipse. Because not every beat works with every rapper unless you're just that good. But nevertheless, man, I still felt like 3 for 3, you know what I'm saying, when they released the album. Now, Tone, and I know, and all hip hop know, that was the last Clipse album. They had mixtapes and all of that, but as far as studio albums, that was the last of the Clipse album, man. Tell people like what happened. Why we don't got no new Clipse albums now?
Well, there was a lot of rumors at the time, man, and the biggest one, of course, was Malice feeling a certain way about hip hop. He was going through at the time some internal struggles with his faith, his beliefs, and kind of the way he was in the streets at some point, and how his life in the streets was reflected in his music, and he kind of felt like he wasn't fulfilled anymore with the way he was rapping, and the way his message was to the community and to kids and stuff like that. He would start going through a transition where he started reading more. He started becoming less interested in touring and being around the hip hop life. He started writing his book, And it was kind of one of them things, almost like Andre 3000. I referenced Outkast twice already, but again, at one point, Andre disappeared for a little while, and Big Boy
Yeah.
kept pushing and pushed out several albums and had his own thing going. And it kind of happened to the Clipse the same way. These guys are brothers, so they're tight, and they're still tight. But I just think their focus, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. Pusha T became a guy who said, you know what? Again, I think I'm better than these dudes, and I'm gonna prove it. I think Malice was saying, we did what we did. I kind of want to go off and do some other things in life. And I'll do a verse here and there. I might even do a project and stuff, but I'm not sure if I'm into it to the point where we're going to do another full album. And I think with their different ideologies in life and personal choices, it kind of ended the Clipse. But since they're family, it didn't really end the Clipse. You know what I'm saying? But,
Yeah.
it's it put a freeze on them as a group. But Pusha T took that opportunity because, you know, that third album dropping around 2009-ish. Around that time, Kanye West was working on my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. You know what I'm saying? And Pusha T and Kanye was rocking together. And Kanye puts this a year after the Clipse third and final album. Kanye puts out this landmark hip hop album. I mean, whether we can feel what we want to about Kanye right now, but my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is still held in the regard of one of the biggest albums of the last 20 years of music, not just hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And it is a brilliant album. And Pusha T is on a track called So Appalled with Jay-Z and Sci-Hi and, all these other people on the song. You know what I'm saying? And then, Pusha T is on Runaway, which is one of the singles off Dark Twisted Fantasy with Kanye, where they performed on the MTV Awards. There's a video for it. And during that time, he was doing a lot of work with Kanye and ended up, at some point becoming an executive with good music. You know what I'm saying? But at that time, he was also working on his solo album. You know what I mean? So, and we'll get farther into that, man. But as far as like the Clipse breaking up or stopping what they was doing, do you have any kind of different perspective or any thoughts in general about that time leading up to Dark Twisted Fantasy? That year between that when they stopped, working together like that, pushing Malice.
I was mad, man, because I was like, yo, how many of these breakups we gonna get, man? Like every time we get a group that's putting out consistent dope albums and hip hop, they break up. You know what I'm saying? Tribe Called Quest, EPMD, like it happens so many times. You know what I'm saying? And it just bothered me a little bit. And then at the same time, I was just kind of like, well, I could dig why Malice would want to do that, considering you just listen to the lyrics he wrote over those 3 albums. And if you feel in some kind of way, especially in regards to your faith and what you're saying and the message you're giving, and probably interacting with fans that's, approaching him about what he says and being inspired by that and him feeling guilty. You know what I'm saying? Probably
I kind of felt like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Probably had situations where it was somebody who was hyped off of what he was saying. They got killed. He gets killed or whatever. And he thinks like, well, man, damn, maybe I could have put a jewel in some of my lyrics that would have turned his life another way since he was so, enamored by my music. A lot of rappers go through that. So I could dig it, but I just didn't know like if Pusha T could sustain without his brother, because when you're in a group, it's easy to write half a song, a verse. Like you can make those hot every trip because you're getting 1 or maybe 2 verses per song, but you're talking about holding out an album, losing the chemistry between you and your brother on a mic, and really somewhat losing what you gained by being in a successful group. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like starting over. It's almost like So it was like wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like the Hart Foundation
Yeah.
was the shit. You know what I'm saying? As a team, we loved them, and then it was like when Bret Hart went solo, it was kind of like, okay, somebody not gonna either Jim Neidhart's not gonna blow, or they need to get back together. They can't be solo. But we know Bret Hart flourished, and I think that's kind of what Pusha T wound up doing, because once he got with Kanye, it was perfect.
Yeah, man, and again, just think about this one. All right, so as we transition something into Pusha T, as Malice kind of faded black to a degree by his own, own choice. So now you have 3 dope albums under your belt. If you Pusha T as a group, you're on a major album in Dark Twisted Fantasy, and you're on Runaway, and you perform on MTV Awards, and now people have said, okay, Pusha T, we know he's nice, but he holding it down. Then you turn around again. I'm a reference Outkast again. Big Boy dropped several dope solo albums. So what did
Yeah.
Pusha T do? 2013, he dropped My Name Is My Name, and I'm like, oh, what do I expect? 'Cause I heard a song called Pain in like late 2012, and then of course numbers on the board, Sweet Serenade, Let Me Love You, that nostalgia or some joint like that with Kendrick Lamar. I'm like, no, this dude right here is rhyming his ass off. The production on My Name Is My Name is incredible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, his debut album, yo, Veg, it was hard, man. Like, I'm like, okay, he got 3 dope albums with his brother. His debut album is dope. He's spitting his ass off. I'm like, now I gotta start looking at Pusha T. Like, okay, how far are you trying to go with this? Because
Mm-hmm.
you ain't dropped a whack verse. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no whack projects. You got 4 projects at this point of 2013, and remixes and mixtape joints, and you ain't got nothing whack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I heard that debut, I'm like, he got 5 singles on it. The production dope all the way through. I mean, he is rhyming. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, we here now. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to the next album, man. But what was you thinking when you heard My Name Is My Name?
Well, the thing that let me know the album's probably going to be crazy, and I don't believe this made My Name Is My Name, is the single he had in 2011 with Tyler the Creator, Trouble on My Mind. That was hard, and I don't even know what that wound up on. But when I heard that, I was like, man, Pusha T got to put this album out, because anticipation is crazy. And My Name Is My Name, when it came out, obviously numbers on the board was crazy, but I wasn't used to hearing like, okay, Chris Brown, because I was still in the Clipse bag. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna front, but Chris Brown is on here, and The Dream is on here, and I'm just hearing these joints or whatever.
But he
But
did it without sounding corny though.
huh?
He did it without sounding corny though.
He didn't change. That's
He
the
didn't
thing.
change.
It's the thing is like it's it's admirable when an MC can maintain his integrity while moving away from something he was previously known for. Even though those elements were still on the album. Man, I played that album to death, man. My Name Is
Yeah,
My
you know
Name.
what? And with me looking right here, his debut album, All Music, gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The Guardian gave it 4 out of 5. And Entertainment Weekly gave it an A minus. So we talking
Wow.
about these are major publications. And again, this is still Pusha T. He's not commercial. He's still talking about bagging. He's still talking about cooking dope. You
He's
know what I'm
still
saying?
going.
And
He's still,
he might be the best MC to talk about cooking coke outside of Jay-Z. I mean, he might have passed Jeezy and T.I. and everybody else.
yeah.
Everybody else talk about cooking coke. I think the only person might be able to get Pusha T is Jay-Z, and they kind of showed that on that track, Drug Dealer Anonymous, where him and Jay went back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, but to your point, it was dope. But then what happens after that, babe, even more impressive to me, I did the knowledge this week. Man, King Push came out 2 years later his sophomore album, and dude, it's better than the first album potentially.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, he might have topped his debut album with this joint. The beats was just as hard or harder. It's funny, man, because I actually think Pusha T get better with every project with his rapping.
He really does, man. Let me correct something I said. In 2011, he actually dropped 2 mixtapes, the Fear God
Yeah.
mixtapes, and Trouble on My Mind was on the second one, Fear of God Part 2. So he was warming people.
Yeah.
He was warming people up prior to the debut. But like you said, man, he really was leaning in, and he has a like Pusha T has a real unique uh like form of success, especially for somebody who came from a group already. It's almost as if he was like reborn once the group was over. Because it's
You know
almost
what?
like I don't really associate Pusha T as I know him today with the Clipse. It was like that was a different thing. You know what I'm saying? He was a different thing. Now he's kind of like a master at what he does, man. But like you said, man, drop that second album. But go ahead, man, because you're gonna get to my favorite album soon. So
Yeah, but you know what's funny? He said one thing on the King Push joint, or it might have been on the first track he rhymed on. He was like, I work with every legend except Jay Dilla. And I just thought that was a dope reference because you
mm,
thinking of a cat from the South, from Virginia, who speak that drug talk, but was still a b-boy to the point where he said, I don't work with it. And, Q-Tip did a track on this album. So just the fact that he said, I work with all the legends except Jay Dilla and shouting them out on the track, I just thought that was real refreshing and dope, man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, I really thought that, man. But again, you got, like you said, he had those dope mixtapes, excuse me. He had his debut, My Name's My Name. He had King Push. Speaking of the mixtape, he had this one track, Alone in Vegas or something like that. I really
mm,
love that track. He had a video for it too. Then you turn around in 2018, Kanye West is producing a series of albums. He dropped Daytona. And I'm gonna tell
mm.
you something, babe. If you're gonna have an album that's gonna have 7 to 8 songs on it, they all have to be fire songs. And you know what? They were all fire songs. So that Daytona album, to me, is the best produced Kanye West album since Dark Twisted Fantasy. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh
true.
my God, he showed out on that Daytona, man. And I mean, bro, I don't know which album I like the best between his 3 albums, but if anybody say Daytona his best piece of work, I'm not mad at it, man. Just I'm gonna let you talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, I remember being like upset at first, like, damn, it's only 7 tracks. But man, the repeat factor of that album is ridiculous, man. And you talk about Kanye kind of did what we were talking about, what Pharrell did for the Clips. He didn't give him predictable, typical boom bap beats to spit over. He gave him beats that had a life of their own. And Pusha T rhymes on those tracks like he's dissecting them. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't really predict his flow. You know what I'm saying? Like a record like If You Know, You Know, which
Yeah,
became a saying amongst everybody because the album was hot. Look at how he's spitting. Look at where he chooses to spit, where he chooses to flow in that record. It's almost unorthodox, but it's still
yeah,
in pocket. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I played Tone, man. I played that album the entire year, and every time I go back to it, it's like hearing it for the first time again, man. I mean, I feel comfortable calling that a classic. I know what 2 years have passed, but I just think it was that good. Like you said, Kanye's best produced album since My Dark Twisted Beautiful Fantasy, man.
yeah. I mean, you know
Incredible.
what? I, I'm not mad at that because a lot of guys that I know who are hip hop heads such as ourselves, they feel strongly about what I'm saying, Daytona being a classic. You know what I'm saying? Then I said, well, can an EP be a classic? Because I always look at if you ain't got 10 songs to EP. But
Mm,
again, I get it. It's an amazing body of work. And and one thing that a big thing in hip hop that came out of the album outside of it being a classic, material was the track Infrared. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We know at some point the reason Daytona caused the beef between Kanye, well, not really, between Drake and Pusha T.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Subliminals was thrown, and then Drake, who is a dope MC to me. I know people say, "Oh man, Tony, you're a hip hop man. How do you like Drake?" I like hip hop, and whenever
Yeah.
Drake gets his bag, Drake can rap.
Yeah.
And when Drake did that W freestyle, answering
Mm-hmm.
infrared, I called my man. I said, "Dog, you heard that Drake W freestyle?" I said, "Yeah, I just heard it." I said, "Dog, is Pusha
Mm-hmm.
in trouble?" I said, we know Pusha's amazing MC. Is he in trouble? Because that W freestyle had the swag of a Don on it. I was like,
Yeah.
and at the end of the song, he was like, I'm gonna send an invoice to you. You know what I'm saying? Tell Kanye them I just helped sell another 20 for you or something. I was like, oh my. But then the story there was the story of Adidon or something like that came out.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah,
Pusha
man.
T did that, it was like when Nas came back with Ether after the
Yeah.
tape smashed.
Yeah.
And not only did he show his battle skills once again, because we know what he did to Lil Wayne a few years before that with Exodus. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We already know he destroyed Young Money, Cash Money, all of them with Exodus, and had a video for it back in the hood of Virginia.
Yeah.
So we know Pusha T can get in his back if he want to, but Drake was so large, I didn't know how Pusha was gonna respond. Because sometimes you can be mad like Jay-Z after Ether and do super ugly.
Yeah.
You can rush it. But nah, see, Pusha T is one of them cynical, clever dudes. Real confident, cocky, like it's a surgical summer. You know what I'm saying? Like he played Drake to the point where he said, dude, you got a son and won't even acknowledge you. He made that man post his son and his family on Instagram.
He made that man have to reveal his family.
His family, and he made Jay Prince call it off.
Yeah.
Jay Prince had to say, I'm gonna let my man gonna fall back right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when you look at that, it showed again. Now I just took down the number one MC again, because as far as hits at that time, Drake was the number one MC in rap. Now look at
Yeah.
commercially, it is what it is. And Pusha T laughed at it like, oh, this easy work. He was like
Mm-hmm.
searching for summer, and he was basically like, we can keep doing this. Like at the end of that joint, Pusha T was basically like, we can keep on going. And I think Jay Prince, you can kind of hear the vibe in somebody like he done already pulled out this man's family. What else does Pusha T have? Because when Drake said something about Virginia on Duppy, he's talking about Virginia Williams, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
Pusha
Yeah.
T's wife. So now the gloves off. We don't know what was coming next after that Adidon story joint. And unfortunately, I mean, Drake is nice, but I think it might have been a good idea when he stopped, because I don't know what Pusha T had in store next, because he's a clever dude.
Yeah, man. I was like I think I was more into because obviously it's like, oh, well, Drake got a son. But I think I was more into the reaction of Drake fans when Pusha T said that. Because if you would, or should I say Drake stands, like Drake stands were like, they know everything,
Right.
but they
And
ain't
then
know that. You know what I'm saying? So they like, oh, wait a minute. It's one thing to be cheering on, like, yeah, Drake is better. Why you still got cornrows, blah, blah, blah. But then this man says something about your guy, and it's true.
and it's true.
And it's true.
And he said facts
Woo!
several times. Facts.
Party over. That shit was party over. But man, like you said, man, when I heard the Duppy freestyle, I was like, "Woo, Drake know who he battling. He's stepping it up. You know what I'm saying? And
And
like you said, Pusha
you
T
know
was
what?
like,
And let me say this real quick too. Side quick note. Props to Drake because you know what? Drake loved hip hop. He grew up following the Clipse and Little Brother and Banks and Fonte and all of them. You know, he's a hip hop kid. You know what I'm saying? Who ended up getting very, very famous. And you know what? In the essence of hip hop, he battled Meek Mills. He did a track at Pusha T, and that W was a dope track. He came back with other little freestyles that Omerto and all these other little joints. He's throwing little, you know, Drake is hip hop guy. Regardless of all these number one hits and all that, I give him props for facing Pusha. I didn't know how Pusha was gonna respond because I could sometimes when somebody more famous, you might get pissed off and say some bullshit. But
yeah,
Pusha T just showed that going through doing an analysis of his entire career from the first clip verse all the way up to that point of dissing Drake. He never had a whack verse. He never
yeah,
came out of character. He never raised his voice. He never came out of pocket doing something that not to his style and steez. He never did none of that. It was always the same confident, slick flow. And that same thing is what took down some giants. It took down Lil Wayne and it took down Drake back to
yeah,
back.
yeah. And look, like you said, he ain't taking them out when they nobodies or
He didn't
washed
let
up
they
at their height, at their prime, which says a lot. You know what I'm
to
saying?
the
Same
point
thing,
where
same
to the
thing.
point where to the point where at one point Lil Wayne couldn't even respond back no more. And he said one thing on his Twitter page. He said, "Fuck Pusha T," because
That's all he got.
he didn't have the bars to compete. And I like
Yeah, yeah. And you got to kind of think about it too. Like you were saying to Drake. Um, from battling people like Common and somewhat getting into it with
yeah,
Joe
you're
Budden.
right.
These are people who are lyrical heavyweights.
Yeah.
These ain't slouches, you know what I'm saying? These ain't people who we could easily, look good going up against. And just
Hey,
the fact that he's even willing
and
to
you know,
go there.
and look, and just real quick on is to the point on that stay scheming, what Drake said to Common, we're at the finish line. We can't wait to run into you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's and again, Pusha T takes these giants down and laugh about it.
hmm
He on the Breakfast Club laughing at these dudes
Laughing at him.
like it's
Now
nothing.
now this the thing, man. Like considering the legacy, do you think like the again, it feels like there's the Clipse history and then there's Pusha T. And sometimes the two don't meet because people just talk about Pusha T. They seldomly even talk about the Clipse, you know what I'm saying, as if he wasn't in the group. But do you think like Pusha T's success on a solo side has kind of like helped to further the legend of the group and where they started, especially given the fact that Malice, he may be no Malice now, and he may not be rhyming about the stuff, but he did leave enough dope rhymes to be mentioned. You know what I'm saying? Do you think Pusha T's success has kind of furthered the legend of the Clipse as a group?
I absolutely do. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, he's a Virginia guy from the Clips. You know, so no matter how lost Push is, and Push can't get any longer than he is now. He's a probably a legend in the game at this point, and he's put his time in for almost 20 years. So, you know, he's not gonna have, you know, Christina Aguilera on the song probably, and it's gonna play in like, multicultural clubs all over the world. He's not Drake. He don't want to be. I think he found his lane in his pocket. He's well respected in the culture. He's still sought after on a lot of songs up to this point. You know what I'm saying? So he never fell off, man. So I think with his success, it only heightens the Clips. It's kind of like at some point when Q-Tip went solo and was making Vibrant Thing and all this stuff, and then did the Renaissance album and all that. He still tried Call Quest. So the more and
Yeah,
more people, so if new people got turned on the Q-Tip because he did Got Till It's Gone with Janet Jackson and did his vibrant thing and breathe and stop and all that. Well, where is he from? Well, he's from the Queen, the Tribe Called Quest. Let me go back and do the knowledge on Tribe Called Quest for
Yeah.
younger fans. So for any new Pusha T fans who were younger and was maybe kids at 8, 9 years old when Lord Willing came out, they went back to do the knowledge on Lord Willing because they love Pusha T.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it enhanced the legacy of the Clipse. You have to look at Pusha like that's 6 projects, 3 dope group projects, 3 dope albums, 2 or 3 dope mixtapes. We talking about over 10 projects now.
Yeah,
Whereas
man.
really, if you're being honest, none of them whack. He
Nope.
never came out of his comfort zone, like I said a few minutes ago. Bars on point, flow is dope. I mean,
And
yo,
look, you talking about also getting close to 20 years in the game.
yeah,
Pusha T.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? People
no whack shit.
look at older rappers like Nas and Jay-Z, like, you know, how long they've been in the game, but Pusha T been in the game for a minute now, which is crazy. But
Yeah,
I
man.
totally agree, man. I totally agree with everything you said about the Clipse and Pusha T and the legacy of them as artists, especially representing Virginia, hands down the best MCs out of Virginia. That's Malice and Pusha T.
Yeah,
At least on the top. Maybe Mad Skills is right after that,
yeah.
skill wise. But just off the product they put out, you know what I'm saying, the quality music. That if he never made another album today, you could just go back and it's potent. Them lyrics are potent, man. Like they are not to be skimmed through or pay attention to a line or two because you just won't get what's so dope about the group, the Clipse, and obviously Pusha T as a soloist, man. But leave your comments in the comment section below. You know what I'm saying? Were you a big fan of the Clipse? Did you come along when Pusha T was a soloist? Maybe Daytona was the first time you really got into Pusha T. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let us know how you feel about this topic. Now, at the end of the show, we like to do a little thing called a recommendation or that we would like to give to you. And please know that the first season of us doing these recommendations is also available as a playlist on Spotify. So basically, we just took songs from each of the albums and mixtapes that we suggested you go out and listen to and made a playlist. But we want you to go check out the albums also. But my recommendation for this episode is out of the year 2006. It's from a mixtape called Warning Shots from the dude Saigon out of Queens. Man, Tone, when I first heard this dude, first of all, the first time I even saw his name was in the source. I believe he was either Demo Madness or Verse of the Month, one or the other. I think it was more like the Demo Madness joint. But I remember I saw his name years before this actually came out. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, damn, who's this kid Saigon? They got this big write-up about him, and he seems
Yep.
like he's really dope. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't heard anything, man. And in 2006, when he put this mixtape out, Warning Shots, I was like, yo, he the next one. He that next 50. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt like that vibe. Like you get a mixtape that's almost a classic in itself, and that's how I felt about Warning Shots. Some of the standout records on here, favorite things, which is crazy to take a
Man, love it.
jazz record and flip it. You like, come on now. Come Again, I love that record. Stocking Cap, NY
Woo,
Street,
stocking cap.
Stocking Cap, like
Woo.
just heat, just like straight up bars, straight thug hip hop. The man can rap. And one thing, and we did a podcast on Jay Electronica, but him and Jay Electronica was kind of like two sides of the same coin back then, right? They
Yeah.
both had hot mixtapes, and you know, they had one mixtape, and people were just ranting and raving about these dudes. They also knew each other through working with Just Blaze, and was looking like the two that was about to come up and be the new cats, you know what I'm saying, as far as bringing lyricism back and all of that. Jay Electronica, as we know, took about 10 years to drop an album, whereas Saigon album felt like it took 10 years, but it did eventually drop The Greatest Story Never Told in 2011. But you're talking about in 2006 when he had Warning Shots. That's when he was fire hot, you know what I'm saying? But album situations, label trash, and all, and, the industry things that just set somebody back and them thinking about the timing of when something should come out. But regardless, if you go back and listen to Warning Shots, you're getting like a dude in his prime before he even gets a chance to drop a heat of a first album. So, Tone, what did you think about Saigon's Warning Shots from 2006? And what's your recommendation for this episode?
Man, look here. Saigon, at that moment when Warning Shots came out, I'm like you. I was like, dude is every so many years you'll hear a rapper and you be like, man, something special. I mean, this is not normal. And when I'm honest, and my people will tell you, when I heard Saigon, I told everybody, I said, dog, he one of the best rappers I done heard in a long time. And I say long time, I'm talking about years. When I
Mm-hmm.
heard Stocking Cap, Favorite Things, there's so many songs during that time period that Saigon did. I was anticipating that debut. He was having issues at the time with Atlantic Records. You know what I'm saying? Him and Jess were trying to get him off Atlantic Records. He even did a freestyle called Transatlantic Slave Trade. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Leading up to The Greatest Story Never Told, which got 4.5 mics in the source, and it's an amazing album. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, Warning Shots, man. He did several tracks with Cool G Rap during that time. I mean, dude's on fire, man. So yeah, dope joint. My pick this week is I'm in North Carolina, so I'm gonna get a little North Carolina love since we talked about Virginia already. Is Ninth Wonder's Dream Merchant Volume 2 came out in 2007. And look, man, this is a couple years after Little Brother, the Minstrel Show, and had came out a few years before this. Ninth was doing a bunch of production with a lot of people at this time, but he was still doing his own Dream Merchant albums. And just real quick, man, he had the first single on there was a track called Brooklyn on My Mind. And it's supposed to be kind of like part three of that straight that Brooklyn, the Q-Tip and Primo doing those tracks for Brooklyn. Um,
Oh, Crooklyn Dodgers.
Brooklyn Dodgers. So
Yeah.
Brooklyn Dodgers 1 and 2. So Brooklyn on My Mind was kind of was the part three version of that, and that was with Most Def, Memphis Bleak, and Jean Grey. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? So it's a dope song. Speaking of Saigon, there's a song on here called Saved with Saigon and a local cat named Joe Scudder. That Saved joint is a very dope joint with Saigon on it, man. He has a song with Camp Low on here, a song with Sky Zoo, a song with Royce the 5'9". You know what I'm saying? Buckshot is on here. Ness from Making the Band. A lot of people don't know that Ness came down here to North Carolina and did a full album with Ninth Wonder that most people never heard. You can listen to about 5 tracks of that album on YouTube now. You know what I'm saying? I heard it way back then. When Ness came down here, Ninth played it for me, but it never got released. It got shelved, but it's very, very dope. And then, he did a couple tracks. He was on some tracks on this joint right here. Strange Fruit on here. Yeah, man, just some dope stuff, man. And a guy named Sean Don, Legacy, some of those are North Carolina MCs. But yeah, very dope production, dope guest appearance. Of course, you know what I'm saying? I'm a big Royce the 5'9" fan, so him being on here was dope. I like Royce way back then. I'm not a new Royce the 5'9" fan. I like Royce the 5'9" when I first heard him. And Saigon as well. So yeah, man, dope joint. I'm not sure if you ever heard either one of the Dream Merchants Volume 1 or Volume 2, man, but if you haven't, man, you gotta check those out, man.
I did, man. I heard. I actually heard all of them. I
Okay.
always check for Ninth Wonders like projects like that because like I'm a fan of like the Static Selective,
Yeah.
albums and like when the DJ Clue albums they used to come out, the Funk Master
Yeah.
Flex. Like, I like those because a lot of times I like to see what rappers the producers are going to go after. Um, Typically seeing how they match them up with other MCs and the
Yeah.
type of beat. It's always like a different way to hear some of your favorite MCs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because I feel like Ninth doesn't just say, "Oh, well, I got Prodigy on here. Let me make a Havoc style beat," or Method Man's on here. Let me make a Wu type beat. It's kind of like you feel like there's a chemistry, there's a working together that happens, man. And the Dream Merchant things kind of brought me down a little bit from again those group breaking up situations
Yeah.
where I'm heated and I'm like, I don't want to hear nobody's separate projects. I want to hear y'all together. You know what I'm saying? But over time, obviously, listening to what Ninth was doing and the different production he was doing, I got why he was doing it and why he wanted to go in different directions with his music. And Dream Merchants Volume One, just the whole series is dope.
Yeah.
So I think people should go and check them out because there's those some albums that people don't typically talk about. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are prisoners of the moment and they talk about what came out the last couple of years. But stuff like this is like Ninth been putting in work. He's been putting out compilations
Yeah.
and having dope MCs, come together. But what do you think about those albums? And if you never heard them, or maybe you haven't heard them in a while, go back and listen to Saigon's Warning Shots mixtape and also Ninth Wonder's Dream Merchant Volume 1. Two very dope albums. Two albums that kind of complement each other because they're totally different. And Saigon's on one of them. So there you go. But that's going to do it for us, man. Please know that subscribing, liking this podcast if you like it, and definitely leave a comment if you have a comment about anything that was said on this podcast. Please know that you can visit intothedome.com and check out some great articles written by the homie Tone. And also, you can hear the audio version of That Time in Hip Hop as well as watch the video version of That Time in Hip Hop. That's going to do it for me, Vegas, of Hip Hop Now podcast, and on behalf of the homie Tone of intothedome.com, go out and support real hip hop. Peace.
Peace.
Black Lives Matter.
Drop it on the random.